All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And what up, all? It's the end of the week. What a week it's been. What a week it continues to be.
There's never been anything like this.
There really hasn't. Big vote on the House floor. As you know, Jim Jordan rejected again. Jim Jordan, who, as we've spoken of, is a toxic stain on the democratic process. He's a despicable... I'm trying to think. There are almost no adjectives that really describe the dark heart that is Jim Jordan. So I'll just go with despicable. You know what I mean? What the? Yeah. Okay, thank you. This is our Big Friday show, and our Big Friday show team is here. That's right, everyone. I'm excited about our Big Friday show team, you know.
I take full responsibility.
Yeah, okay. Well, there are a lot of... what's the line? Success has many fathers. Failure dies an orphan. Albert is here, everyone.
Albert, thank you.
And Kim is here.
Kim, how are you?
And, yeah, we've got a lot to do. Shure and Avila coming in, talk politics. We'll talk about what's happening on the House floor and, of course, what's going on in the Middle East. It is with great, I would say, worry that I look at this House of Representatives run by the GOP in total chaos and disarray, and I look at it in a worrying way because what Joe Biden said last night in his address is true. This is a momentous time. This is an inflection moment in history. There's real stuff going on. Ukraine, Middle East. You've got, essentially the government looking at a shutdown in less than a month. And the GOP can't find its butt with both hands. I mean, they cannot elect a speaker. They are mired in party politics. They're mired in this game where they're the extremists versus the moderates. And mired, you're right, is a ding word.
The sucky part about that is when they fail, we all fail, right?
That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying that all of these serious issues go orphaned during this time that the GOP is playing petty politics. Now, we're going to get into politics with Shure and Avila in the next hour. So if you're new here, here's how the show breaks down. It is it's a show, first of all, that we brought from radio to this platform. We've just celebrated our 1-year anniversary. And we're really excited that you found us if you are new. On Fridays, we have two terrific political analysts in the second hour. And they'll be here today, and we'll talk about some of these things that we've spoken of. What's the future of the House of Representatives? What's the future for Jim Jordan? I told you yesterday that when he had said, I'm taking a pause, I said, BS. He's going to be back. There's no bottom. There's no shame. Jim Jordan is going to try to intimidate his way to the House speakership. And then we're going to play you in a couple of minutes evidence of his intimidation. We've been talking about it here on this show for a while, about literal threats of physical intimidation. So he's still staying with it. Will he stay with it? We'll talk to Shure and Avila in the second hour. And then also in the second hour, on Fridays, we take a breath, and the culture blaster, Michael Snyder, rolls through. We talk movies, streaming, television, that sort of thing. The first hour, I'll give you some thoughts on a lot of things that are going on, and it's going to be quite the menu of different stuff. It's not necessarily politics across the board at all. You saw Jon Stewart's show is canceled, and there is a message in that Jon Stewart cancellation that I will get to. And, of course, the jewel of Fridays is Friday Fabulous Florida, which we will do at the bottom of this hour. So that's your playbook.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I have to. Can you tweet or can I tweet, Albert?
I'm on it.
Are you? Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
You mean, can you X?
Oh, yeah. Can you X?
Yeah.
So I'm doing something now because Twitter X has become this growing, I don't know. I don't want to call it a cesspool yet, but it's definitely headed that direction.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm sort of tacking away from it a little bit, and I don't post as much as I used to. And I'm posting some stuff. I'm doing something that I hadn't done before, which is Instagram. My Instagram used to be politics free. Like there was no no controversy. I really like avoided everything. But if you wanted to see me like, you know, in a bathrobe, you'd find me on Instagram. All right. But if there's no, I'm not in an Instagram bathrobe that says, you know, make America great again or whatever the hell people are putting on. You know, I don't do that. I don't have an American flag in my hand, nothing.
Yeah.
But now, because I'm seeing that Instagram is this place where stuff's going on, I'm starting to now post stuff that's a little bit political from our show, you know. So it's just weird how all of this happens, how social media changes and how, you know, an audience can turn on you, right? If the, you know, an Instagram crew that's not used to seeing any politics, they can turn on you.
Is there a bit of backlash?
Wild. Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it will happen. But, you know, speaking of that, I hadn't expected to start with this, but I am going to give you Middle East in just a moment, and then a little bit of politics, and then the rest of the politics I'll push to the second hour. But just because I'm mentioning audiences and reaction, wait a minute, I've seen something in the, I have to put my credibility
Breaking
glasses
news
on.
alert.
Yes, breaking news. Wait a
Out
minute,
of
we've got
Florida.
something on the screen. If you're just joining us, Wes Theory for 20, come on, with a big shout out.
Big shout out.
Just sending a chat, because I never send a chat. And as a Florida man, got to try everything.
That's right.
Wes, love you, first of all.
That's not fake.
Thank you so
That's real.
And that's not fake. It's real.
Thank you so much.
And I also want to say that I was talking to Albert before the show about Florida, some great stories in Florida. It just all fell into place, he said, this week. So Friday Fabulous Florida should, please. Love your Instas, especially your cats, says Jenny. I do post about the cats.
Hi, Janet.
Really cool. Janet is a big supporter for a long time. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Apple cancels the Problem with Jon Stewart show. It's called The Problem with Jon Stewart. They canceled it over creative disagreements with liberal comedian over planned episodes about AI and China. They cancel it, having ordered a third season. It was set to begin shooting. And critics have not been kind to this show, but I watched little parts of it. I didn't think it was bad. Critics have said it's dull, it's stuck in the past. But there were episodes planned on artificial intelligence and communist China where Apple executives were either uncomfortable with the subject matter or with guests that were going to be coming in to talk about it, and they just outright pulled the plug on the show. They also said that Stewart's opinions on the upcoming presidential election might cause further consternation, which is a ding word. According to the New York Times, they reported.
That's what he does. That's what he does. That's his thing.
That's right.
Right?
That's his thing. Exactly. The idea behind the show, kind of the stated ethic is or mission statement was that it was looking at issues in a more in-depth way than for example, the Daily Show, which he hosted. During the first episode, Stewart, and they discuss how much he's worth here. Jon Stewart. Does everyone know how much he's worth? He's worth a lot of money. How much money is Jon Stewart worth? Jon Stewart, who changed I would suggest, the manner in which politics is skewered and discussed and revealed. He made it funny, but also really with some great searing takes on what's going on. I mean, he created that industry on some level. I mean, that's not fair. I mean, comedians have been talking about politics and making fun of things, I think since politics happened, and Mort Saul and all these people who, go back some time. But I'm just saying, on television, he took that talk show format and moved it into that. 70 million, says Champagne Wishes, is the net worth of Jon Stewart. 160 million, says Wes. Edward Lee says 100 mil.
Yeah, I'll go with Edward. It has to be a lot for him to have stepped away, right?
Yeah, well, he didn't. He didn't. Yeah, oh, you're saying from the Daily Show for him to step away from the. Yeah. Manuel Martinez says 300 million. Wow, the guy's got a lot of money. Trevor Starr in Hollywood said 11,780. Well, all right. The actual retail price, the estimated net worth of Jon Stewart, $120 million, everyone.
Nice.
Wow, that's a lot of money. They won 20 Primetime Emmy Awards while Jon Stewart was producing and hosting The Daily Show. Now the Apple show has been pulled, okay? So they canceled it outright. Now, this is, again, after ordering season 3. The point I wanted to make, and I think the message in here is an important one. The owners of the distribution network, they run information. So when we talk about media and disinformation and misinformation and lack of information, when we talk about biased information, that really is controlled by those who control the distribution network. You can say whatever you want, but nobody's going to hear you if there isn't a distribution network of some kind to get the word out.
Right.
And we find that here. I mean, we have to be careful. I'll give you an example. All the shows that we've talked about, the war with Hamas and Israel, I mean, the expected war, the hostilities, the hostage-taking, the brutality, the wanton violence, just those things that I just mentioned got me demonetized in that moment, just a second ago. But I have to be committed to having a real conversation with the audience that comes here about these things. But because they're viewed as not advertiser-friendly, we become demonetized. Now, still, all your super stickers, super chats, we still get that support into the show. But what I'm trying to say is that even here on this super open platform, which you think of as super open, it's not as open as you think. There are shows being demonetized and struck all the time here. You'll remember in our first week, it was our third show, YouTube struck us through AI. They said that we had said that the election was stolen or something ridiculous. We didn't say that the election was stolen, but they said we did, and they took it down. And then I appealed it, and they still stood by their decision. Now, if you get 3 of those, you're done. They take down the whole channel. So even this open platform has some strict and oftentimes arbitrary decision-making going on.
Champagne Wishes says we're going to have to move to OnlyFans. This is ridiculous.
Well, I'll tell you what someone told me just about that. They said, you should send your show to Rumble also. Now, Rumble has a lot of right-wing stuff. Oh. There are really no restrictions on what you can do.
Yeah.
And we may do that. I'm not saying we're going to move there. We're going to be here as long as they'll have us. But we may simulcast over to there as well.
Speaking of that, Nikki was on a new platform today as well, and that is Twitch.
Twitch is great. It's a gaming platform primarily, isn't it, Albert?
Mostly gaming. You see a lot of variety stuff now on there, but there's a lot of people avoiding Twitch because they also don't pay enough. So there's a split, yeah. And that split is way better for YouTube streamers, especially the big ones. So there's
Albert,
complications over there too with Twitch.
Wow. There you go. Every platform has its controversy, but that's cool that she's on Twitch. enjoy the Nikki Maduro show a lot. I've said it before. I've said it privately to Kim, so you know I'm not just blowing smoke. And I really liked it today, for example. The whole thing that it just feels to me like two pals chatting about stuff. Are you going to watch this or that? And they talk politics and other stuff too, but it feels like it's wrapped in kind of fun things like the Jada book versus the Britney Spears book. Like, which one are you going to read? Which one are you curious about? Like, that's a very I love that. And then I'm go.
Is that your lady? Is that your lady voice that you're doing there?
No, it's just my excited. Like, what are you going to do? Yeah, my lady voice is. I don't have a lady voice. I don't think. I probably do, but I don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, I enjoy it. That Twitch is a move. Love that. Yeah. By the way, on the Jada thing, and I don't want to brag. I did a movie with Jada Pinkett, as you know.
Do you know who I am?
Yes.
I'm kind of a big deal.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to bring it up again, but
Which movie was that?
Well, regular listeners of this show, and I wouldn't expect you to know, Kim, because you're not a regular listener.
I should have your
how are you?
Yeah.
Your movie database memorized?
I'm saying that if I've told a story that involved Jada Pinkett and me doing a movie with her, that maybe you would know it. But it's possible I didn't tell the story, and I just think I'd have. So, I did a film called Set It Off, and Jada was one of the 3 stars. Queen Latifah. Who was it, Albert? Queen Latifah, Jada, and
Albert, thank you.
Who was it? I forget the third person. It was Queen Latifah, Jada. Anything, Albert?
Jada, Queen Latifah, Vivica Fox.
Vivica Fox, that's who it was.
And
Thank you.
Kimberly Elise.
Yeah. No. So on the first day I'm there getting wardrobe, and the producer in the hallway is with this little person. She's like this big. And he's walking toward me with her. And he said, Mark, I wanted to introduce you to Jada. So I didn't know who Jada was. This is how out of it. And this is a while ago. And when was Set It Off done? I don't know if anybody, it's been a while ago. So anyway, but I meet her and I remember thinking to myself, isn't that cute that this actress is, hoping that this will be her big break? And, like I've got another job. I work in news. This is just a little side thing I'm doing for a couple of days. But this person really has.
That was 1996, Mark.
Okay, 1996. So that's, And then, of course, I tell you this because I'm such an idiot. It's Jada Pinkett Smith. And, I thought we used to have a drop. Like Jada had nothing to do with it.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
That's it. Right. Anyway.
What did you do in the movie? What was your role?
Well, first of all, thank you for asking, Kim.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
I was going to discuss it on Inside the Actors Studio, but I can share it with you now. I played what I always played an anchorman.
Okay.
In a riveting sequence, though, Albert, did you see the movie? I feel like I have a shot that maybe you saw
Albert, thank you.
Did you see Set It Off?
No, I didn't. I don't recall watching it. I might have to watch it now because you're in it. So
yeah, I have to go back and.
I know someone in the movie.
That's the right answer. I have an emotional sequence at at the end of the movie. Yeah.
And Mark, do I have to find that on a VHS or you know, if that's
How dare
anyway,
you?
so.
How dare you, Albert?
Do you know who I am?
I'm
I'm kind of a big deal.
That is a fully streamable film. Set It Off. And I bumped into Queen Latifah at an award show. A lot of us celebrities who've been in movies go to the award show.
Do you know who I am?
I'm just saying.
I'm kind of a big deal.
And she came over to me, Queen Latifah, and she said, "You were great and Set It Off. It's so good to see you."
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And I
what a class act she is.
Yeah, I liked it. And I said, "I was great. You're the one who, held up the movie." But thank you very much. Anyway, All right, nice job. Moving on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
So Jim Jordan has failed to win House speakership. He staying at it. We told you he's got tactics of intimidation, and I think he'll continue to stay at it. But in the meantime, as I've said, we languish as a country during a time where we need the government to have its act together. So when you see Joe Biden talking about this moment in time, as I was saying off the top, you, I think, can accurately say the House of Representatives is completely distracted by this GOP chaos. So they're not able to appropriate money. So you've got the President of the United States saying, hey, we've got two American allies that need our money to support them in various serious situations. And, you know, let's focus. As to a temporary speaker, that appears not to be getting momentum. It's talked about. But we will talk to Shure and Avila about that. And at the same time, I'll tell you that finally it looks like a deal has been made for aid to get into Gaza. Trucks loaded with food and medicine are lined up. I talked about it yesterday. And they have to get through those border gates in Egypt. Aid organizations were told the crossing would open today. The deal, officials say, includes the UN flag being raised at the crossing and international observers inspecting aid trucks before they enter Gaza. The arrangement is meant to satisfy demands by Israel, which is at war with Hamas, that none of the aid reach the group that controls Gaza and that the shipments not be used to smuggle weapons. It's really the smuggling that has been an ongoing concern on the part of the Israelis. Opening the border crossing at this Gazan city of Rafah, which is the only official passage between Gaza and Egypt, is critical right now, right? You've got a humanitarian crisis growing. There was also news today of an American journalist who I thought actually had a really great take on the troubling end game. And we talked about it a bit on the show, the fact that I don't see what Israel can do. You can't really root out Hamas. And even if you were able to, over many, many, many months, root out Hamas fighters at terrific personal cost to your fighters in the Israeli army and also to all of these innocent civilians in the midst of whom these fighters find shelter often. It's to what end? Hamas is going to reemerge. So I see Israel in a really tough spot, and yet this is what I was talking about the other day when I talked about the street. I talked about the Arab street and the Israeli street. You have a demand to do something. As a government, I don't know that you can survive without doing something. And already Israelis don't like Netanyahu. I mean, think of Netanyahu in a Trumpian way. That's really the kind of figure he is. He's an intense right-wing dude who's trying to work around the Israeli judiciary. So, speaking about some of this is Martin Fletcher from NBC News. And Albert, you have the Fletcher stuff. Let's just run a little bit of it. And then I'll tell you the remarkable thing about Martin Fletcher related to the Hamas raid on Israel. Go ahead, Albert. Guess I should. You got it? Okay, here we go.
Say hello to award-winning journalist Martin Fletcher. Martin served as NBC's longtime bureau chief in Tel Aviv, often reported from the border there at Gaza. Martin, so good to see you. Very few journalists have as much experience as you have. 32 years. You know the place inside and out. When we see what's unfolding now, it's hard for anyone to fathom an end game. What could possibly be the end game? With your knowledge, how do you see it playing out?
Well, that is the big issue in Israel, with the army preparing to go in on the ground. Why are they going to do that? Because there's going to be extraordinary carnage. Right now, Israel has the moral high ground because the world sympathizes after the atrocities committed by Hamas. So going in is basically a matter of revenge and satisfying the Israeli public and doing what they have to do to clear out Hamas. But the end game presumably the only realistic end game is for Hamas to be weakened so much militarily and politically that they become a weak government in Gaza. The idea that of the Israelis, Netanyahu, the prime minister, we're going to destroy Hamas, we're going to kill the leadership, they won't exist as a force. It's just unrealistic. I mean, it's an idea. They're supported by so many of the people, and a lot of people don't support them. But the idea of destroying Hamas is a bit of a pipe dream.
And then who runs Gaza? But how do you contain this so that it doesn't become a regional war? You have Iran, who has obviously Hamas as a proxy, but Hezbollah in the north too. And the fear is that there would be a two-front war, that other countries would line up and that we'd have a much broader conflict. How do you stop that from happening?
Well, we're on the very abyss of exactly that. And the problem is that half the people in Israel don't support the government, frankly. I mean, they don't trust the Prime Minister Netanyahu to manage this question properly. Bringing the opposition, one of the opposition leaders, Benny Gantz, who's a former chief of staff, defense minister, into the government, is kind of a balancing measure. So they're trying to improve the quality, if you like, of the security cabinet in Israel. But the idea that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to manage this successfully, well, let's hope so. Because the threat of Hezbollah coming in from the north, 150,000 rockets with at least 2,500 highly accurate rockets aimed at Israel, supported, and then Hezbollah supported by Iran. If that happens, the question rises, well, what are the American warships going to do off the coast of Israel? Presumably they're there to deter Iran, and if Iran and Hezbollah do attack, what do the Americans do? Are the Americans on the edge of joining this war?
Exactly the issues, and the Secretary of State's over there hopscotching from country to country. That's a lot of the reason why. Martin, you're a wealth of knowledge and perspective. It's good to have you here.
All right, thank you. That's good, Albert. Thank you very much for that. And then it was revealed that Martin Fletcher's family is being held hostage.
Oh, wow. 2
members of his family are being held hostage. Albert, do you have that video too?
NBC's former Israel-based correspondent Martin Fletcher revealing overnight his relatives, Americans who were visiting their grandmother in Israel, are among the hostages.
I just found out today that 2 of my wife's family are among the hostages.
I'm so sorry.
So, we know that from what we've found out about Hamas, that they were told to kill the difficult ones and to use the rest as human shields. So this is a very personal. They were last seen.
So sad. So sad.
I wonder if those were the Americans that were just released, because Hamas has released 2 Americans today. They are a mother and a daughter, Judith and Natalie Ronan. And they've just been handed over to the Red Cross, but they do have dual citizenship. So I wonder if that happened to be the 2.
Yeah. I think the older of them has health issues is what I was seeing, but you can give us more. In fact, I'm glad that you chime in with that, because that's an important detail, and I know you'll have more details on a lot of other stuff as well. There they are. Anyway, it's what's going to happen to the rest of these hostages? Is unclear. I have, dim hopes, but hopes nonetheless. And we'll talk more about it a bit with Michael Shure and Jim Avila. Smash the like button like a boss. It's one of those shows we're bouncing
with your iron rod.
We're bouncing around a little bit, but I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for your support. We're a crowd-funded show. We exist because of you guys. So thank you so much for becoming a Patreon or PayPal subscriber and throwing us a little something every month. It really does make it. Well, frankly, it's the only reason we're still here. Cabo Jeff with a 20. Hello from Hurricane Norma in Cabo. Wow. Are you kidding?
Big shout out.
You're all right, Cabo Jeff.
What's the story on, can you find some information on Hurricane Norma before the end of the show for Jeff? Yeah, we'll do that before the end of the show. Man, that's dedication, though. That's the kind of dedication that I'm trying to get around here, Jeff. I can't get...
Oh, downgraded. She's been downgraded as of 2 minutes ago. Hurricane Norma downgraded to a Category 2 ahead of Mexico landfall.
Oh, okay. There you go. So congratulations on being downgraded.
Morning.
So, my favorite gun is the Tom gun for a $5. Thank you. Big shout out. Love you guys, says Tom. Thank you for being here. Harry says, thanks to Wes. Nice to know Florida has 2 great residents. I'm looking for the other. A $5
big shout
super
out.
sticker, and thank you, super chat. Kim's News and Friday Fabulous Florida next. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards. The Palestinian militant group Hamas, as we just said moments ago, is releasing 2 hostages. And again, a photo of these 2 women that are now being released. Hamas citing humanitarian reasons for letting this American mother and her daughter go, as the mother is in poor health. Reportedly in response to mediation efforts from Qatar, the 2 Americans have been reportedly handed over now to the Red Cross. They are on their way out. Judith and her daughter Natalie Ronan from Chicago, the first hostages to be released by Hamas. This mother and daughter taken hostage. The 2, again, at least the mother is said to hold double citizenship. Not sure about the daughter, but they are from Chicago. They were visiting Israel for a Jewish holiday when they were taken a hostage. As many as 10 members of their extended family remain in Hamas captivity right now. And again, Hamas captured 200 people. So there are many more that we don't know what their fate will be. But at this time, this mother and daughter now on their way to safety. To the House of Representatives. The House is in recess after failing to elect a speaker for a 3rd time. It just doesn't stop here. 25 Republicans blocked Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan from winning the gavel today, raising doubts about whether Jordan's going to be staying in this race. He received 194 votes. That's fewer than he did in previous ballots. All 210 Democrats, meanwhile, voted for House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Republicans are now meeting behind closed doors to try and figure out a path forward. Jordan told reporters ahead of the vote he is prepared to take his bid for Speaker through the weekend. Another key defendant in the 2020 Georgia election interference case, agreeing to testify against former President Trump and other defendants in the case. Trump's campaign legal advisor, Kenneth Cheseboro, accepting a plea deal in Fulton County today, pleading guilty to conspiracy to commit filing of false documents in return for probation and his testimony. Yesterday, one-time attorney for Trump, Sidney Powell, also pleaded guilty in the same case in return for her testimony. They're flipping like pancakes over there in Georgia. An Army private who fled to North Korea is being charged with desertion. Private Second Class Travis King kicked out of North Korea in September, 2 months after he ran across the heavily militarized border with South Korea, where he was stationed. King is currently in custody at Fort Bliss. Government officials in Aruba have requested records now of the United States investigation that led to the conviction of Joran Vandersloot, the Natalie Holloway case suspect. The request was made yesterday to the U.S. Department of Justice after Vandersloot confessed to killing the Alabama teen in 2005 on a beach in Aruba. Can he be charged in Aruba? The Rolling Stones were joined by Lady Gaga. It was a surprise show in New York City yesterday.
What?
Variety says 500 people packed into a Manhattan club called Racket to hear the Stones play songs off their new album, Hackney Diamonds, which is out now. It's their first album of the original material in 18 years. So it's been a while. And having Lady Gaga, help him get that all out, pretty good.
Yeah, you always hope for that that night that you're at the club, whatever club it is. It could be a comedy club, it could be a music club. That that's the night that if it's a comedy club in San Francisco, it used to be that Robin Williams would come in. You know what I mean? Like he would come. Sometimes he was, or now it would be Chappelle would come in. But And in music, it's like, are you kidding me? The Stones and Lady Gaga were there on the night. What? Yeah. It's just one of those stories that, you'll have for a lifetime. Really cool.
There's never been anything like this.
Right.
Big anniversary.
And then somebody at the back yelling, play the hits, man. Play the hits. Screw the new stuff, dude.
Stones and Gaga, what a show. Big anniversary. We just had our 1-year anniversary, and we're all a Twitter over that. But In-N-Out Burger is celebrating 75 years this weekend. The Southern California-based chain.
That's how long it takes to get a burger on one of those lines where you're waiting for the...
That's pretty much it.
Waiting to go. The in part takes a long time. Out part's faster.
They were founded in 1948. They're still family-owned. They've got more than 300 locations, and they're now expanding eastward to Tennessee in 2026. 75 years of In-N-Out Burger, a California... Yeah, I think when you think of In-N-Out, you think California, even though they're now in other states, but it's just kind of a California thing, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's very California.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a In-N-Out story, favorite thing they order there.
Yeah. Speaking of very California, it's Tenuta Vineyards. Yeah.
Yes.
3 grape stomps this month, a couple more in November. Really fun event to do with your friends and family for fall. The grape stomp events at Tenuta Vineyards sell out fast. It's a catered luncheon. Again, super fun, super festive. You can get 10% off of that event and all the wine and anything else you can find to buy at Tenuta Vineyards.
So you get the 10% off there because it's like, as you say, it's a big thing.
Yeah, they're selling
out. You can get it for 10% off.
They had to add extra dates. But no, you get 10% off if you're a Mark Thompson Show listener.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's a big deal. It's exclusive. And
I love it.
Yeah.
I love exclusive. Exclusive speaks to me. You can imagine.
I can imagine.
My stature, how exclusive.
Do you know who I am?
Yes, thank you.
I'm kind of a big deal.
And just exclusive really is in my area.
You want the 10% off, you have to work for it just a little bit. You have to call Rich at Tenuta, 925-699-4576, and you have to say,
smash it with your iron rod.
You got to say that.
Yeah,
okay.
and you have to give it a little feeling. Like you can't
no, you
be
don't.
Yes,
no,
you can't be monotone.
It's not an audition.
You can't be like, oh, was I supposed to say smash it with my iron rod?
No.
You have to give it some.
No, you're not going to get judged on how you say.
Oh, you'll get judged. We will judge.
Oh, my God.
I will judge. I mean, I want some,
Well,
what the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Oh, there you go, everybody.
Did you always hate the people when you say, "Oh, caller 8 wins whatever," and then they call and they're like, "Oh, thank you, that's so great, I get to go to the concert." No, you want the woohoo! I get to go to the concert. Like you want the person who actually sounds excited to win things.
You are high as a kite.
Okay, whatever you say, Kim.
Why are you yelling?
I'm telling you. So call and give it some oomph. They have give them 30 minutes. You'll be friends for life. They're so nice at Tenuta, and you'll love the wine.
I'm going to give them like 15 minutes. I don't want a really close friend. I just want a sort of, an acquaintance that I enjoy spending some time with. I'm more in the 15-minute category.
Really? Weren't you out at Tenuta Vineyards? Didn't you go out and hang out?
I really did love it. In fact, I stayed way longer than I thought I would, and I wasn't. We were driving, so it wasn't just because I was drinking wine. I just love it there. I love the scene. I love the meetup spaces. They're
what can you tell us about the scene?
They're conference rooms that I really enjoyed. Big ones with screens that you could watch, Larry. Multimedia screens.
What can you tell us about the scene?
And then downstairs, underneath the winery itself, the big casks, wine, the red, the white. Loved it.
What can you tell us about the scene?
All right.
Super yummy. That's Tenuta Vineyards. Our thanks to them for sponsoring this newscast. This is Kim McAllister. You were listening to The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know it. It's Friday. We are excited to have you in on a Friday. And on Friday, in addition to our serious conversation, which will follow the beginning the second hour with Michael Shure and Jim Avila, we will talk Middle East, we'll talk Jim Jordan, House of Representatives, and American politics. We like to feature a segment which focuses on a state that always serves up some wild stuff. And we'll get to it in a moment. But first, if I can just welcome him in, who always joins us for this segment, the co-host of What You Watching Live, or what is it called? It's the
after party.
The
live.
after party.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
He is the great John Daly, everyone, former producer of this program.
What You Watching Live? Hey.
Yeah.
Hey,
Isn't
look,
that a show, John?
It's a Mark Thompson mug that's intact and has been kept safe for a year and a half at least.
Wow. That's very cool, as they should be.
Yeah.
The one that...
There's never been anything like this.
Broken into pieces. People seem to want it, though. I don't know, John. But anything to, I got to give the people what they want.
Things that are important to me.
Yeah.
I heard you earlier saying that you're moving away from X. So on behalf of all of us at Instagram, I'd like to thank you.
Oh, look at you with the Instagram. Now, are you working with Instagram?
No, somebody in the building
works
for. No, somebody in the building works for Instagram and left a bunch of free shirts downstairs.
Well, that's a much less glamorous story than I had anticipated.
Yeah, but I don't have to tell people that when I'm walking around San Francisco.
No, people are thinking, "Hey, Instagram, I've got that." Yeah. You go, "Yeah, I worked there.
That's me. That was me.
One of the originals. I was one of the first.
I invented Instagram.
Right.
You're welcome. You're welcome, narcissist. You want a photo?
All right. Without any further delay, here it is, curated by the great Albert. This is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from the weirdest state.
Let's start with a guilty verdict. A Florida man is found guilty of killing his wife for refusing to appear on a home renovation reality show.
Wow.
I stood down on the what, Albert? You didn't
What?
want to hear that?
What?
Okay, there we go. I stood back thinking Albert was going to hit it. He stood back thinking I was going to hit it.
Ever seen anything like this before?
Yeah, I think we've never.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah.
I guess he really wanted to be on TV.
Man, I mean, it's pretty incredible. David Trons is his name. He was sentenced to life in prison. He murdered his wife 5 years ago.
Well, now he'll be on Dateline, so he got his wish.
It was called Zombie House Flipping, this reality show that he wanted to be. He wanted to be part of it, and she did not. The couple was in the process of renovating their home, which quickly turned into a money pit, apparently. And he was hoping, David was, to get on the reality show to bail out this project, which was running into the red. She was excited about possibly... she was not excited about being on it, but I thought she wasn't so objecting to it initially. Yeah, here it is. Friends of Shanti told police that she was excited about possibly being on the reality show, but detectives believed that she was upset with the project and was making plans to leave David. That was what was really going on. So, but he did not. There were a lot of financial issues all around this renovation project. You got to know these renovations can really be ugly. And Shanti's name was not on the deed of the house. This guy does not sound very nice. So as she kind of was eyeing the exit, she was wondering why her name wasn't on the deed of the house. And again, he offed her, and 5 years ago it happened. Finally, the family gets peace. He gets a guilty sentence, and he can figure out how he wants to renovate his cell in Florida.
The project is still in the red, by the way.
He was going. I have some plans for our cell, and I'd like to share them with you. A wanted Florida man tried to throw cops off with an "I don't live here" sign. A Florida man wanted by the cops placed a sign outside his house reading, "Johnny Yates does not live here."
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
He's 41 years old. He was wanted by the Polk County Sheriff's Office on aggravated battery, false imprisonment, and tampering charges. Wow. Well,
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
deputies showed up at Yates's Lakeland home. They got a tip that he was holed up inside. When the deputies arrived, this is a quote, they noticed a note written on a dry erase board in front of a window that said, "Johnny Yates does not live here." A dry erase board? Never lied to us before, the cop said. Should we believe it? That's a very Grady thing to say, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like...
What he's got going here is a situation.
Yeah.
And the window
deputies-
panes are painted. Looks like they're painted or something smeared on the inside.
Yeah, something smeared on the window, right. You've got something so you can't see in, and if you're watching on
That's not
YouTube, it actually...
suspicious at all.
The whiteboard says Johnny Yates does not live here. It's
The penmanship is pretty good.
I got to say, it's kind of a Hail Mary pass there at the end when you know you're wanted by the cops and they might be by.
They do also have the 1930s golf clubs out there too.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was just looking at that.
Yeah.
Maybe that would throw them off the scent.
Yeah.
But deputies questioned someone leaving the house who confirmed that Yates was inside. Yes, so the cops have proceeded
sold
with the,
out.
A Florida man blames bad dreams for damaging his brother-in-law's car at 1 a.m. This happened in Marion County, Florida. Dude found himself behind bars after a late-night encounter. He drunkenly bumped into his future brother-in-law's car.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
I just told you he was drunk, so he was. The bet is off. Cost hundreds of dollars to repair this car, according to the estimates. The twist in this incident, he told deputies he was at his relative's house at 1 a.m. because he was having bad dreams. There he is.
That's not fake. That's real.
Hector Garay Diaz was arrested and charged with felony criminal mischief.
That's the worst kind of mischief.
Yeah, that is the kind that'll get you into trouble. But he did, I mean, you got to say something in these situations. And he said, I was having a bad dream. Having bad dreams, literally, is the quote out of the police record.
What you are talking about.
Yeah, he said he was drunk at the time that his wife drove him there. Mm-hmm. And then when he bumped into brother-in-law's car, he said, he was not in his right mind. So you got to cut the guy some slack.
What would Grady say? Yeah, he went from a dream to a nightmare.
Yeah. Grady, you got to see it's right.
What he's got going here is a situation.
Well, camera captures a canal crash and rescue in Cape Coral. I'm betting that Albert has this video for you. A home security camera caught a car crashing into a Cape Coral canal, and then the rescue of the driver, because as you'll see, the driver is at a high rate of speed, swerving into a yard, hitting a bump, and then landing in this canal. Had to be rescued.
Oh, look at that. That's
Dramatic.
a big splash.
Yeah. And into the water, the car goes like there's trouble. He was
That's a
standing right on the
situation.
edge of the canal. I can only imagine how he's feeling.
There's a guy in the red also just walking to the body of water and just sees the car flying through.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
he's probably
wild.
looking for gators, and he's like, "Oh no, a car!"
I know. I got to blow this up so I can take on. Yeah, that's just
I
God. That's
wonder
just
if-
wild. Look at that guy. Just
Yeah.
wow, man. That's super Florida like. The driver is stuck in the car for a few minutes as he tries to get around the deployed airbags. A bystander jumps into the canal and helps the driver get away as the canal swallows up the car. That's a scary but compelling piece of video.
Well, it looked like he was being chased by that car behind him.
Well, there's some reason that.
See them? They're kind of speeding together there, and then
I wonder if
one goes off and one turns.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
There might
Look at
be.
the Mark T investigative team here. We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
If you could follow up, I would appreciate.
Although I like that it's a car crash in Cape Coral Canal. That's a lot of C's.
Yes, you're right. It's alliterative. Anytime you can make the Florida, crime blotter, and you can do it with alliteration, it's a good thing.
Ding.
A Florida man kidnapped and waterboarded. Then he called in a bomb threat. 2 brothers and another man are facing federal charges following a kidnapping that took some bizarre twists. This is in Fort Lauderdale.
What?
Yeah. They kidnapped a dude at gunpoint outside his apartment in Plantation, Florida. Tossed his cell phone out of the car as they drove to a home where they took him inside. Eventually, they learned they had the wrong person, mistaking him for his coworker.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
No, I don't. There's no reference to alcohol.
My bad. I'm sorry.
After the waterboarding, hey, dude.
Yeah.
Just want to tell you something.
Oh man, I think we got the wrong guy.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, I'm really. We know that we'd like to apologize to you because clearly we got the wrong person.
It was wrong. It was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Yes, we shouldn't have. We shouldn't have. We kidnapped the wrong person and we waterboarded the wrong person. Yeah. He told cops that the men threatened him, put an electric drill to his skin, and pointed a firearm at him before dousing him with water in what prosecutors say is a simulated waterboarding process. He thought he was going to drown the dude who was taken hostage. The men began brainstorming how the victim could help lure the coworker to them, the guy they really wanted. They provided him with a cell phone and were able to access his iCloud account to find the coworkers.
Wild idea, but it just might work.
Yeah, wait a minute. Let's turn an F up into something good. This actually may help our mission. I've got a great idea. When they learned that the guy that they were going for was still at the business in Pompano Beach, they drove the victim there and asked him to get the coworker to come outside. Yeah, what do you think happened?
No, not coming outside.
Yeah. Instead, the man phoned in a bomb threat in an effort to get a rapid police response to the building. That's clever.
Yeah, it is.
Suspects arrested by law enforcement and remain jailed in Broward County.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you ever drew that timeline of this whole story from like beginning to end, that took so many twists and turns. And then a random bomb threat at the end. So,
do you think they had a dry erase board where they worked it all out?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. That's right. That cork board, the thing that they do with the thread and the yarn. Yeah. Thieves in Florida use a tractor trailer to steal more than $1.6 million in alcohol from a U.S. distributor.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
Well, there is alcohol. I just told you there's alcohol. An investigation underway in Florida after burglars used tractor trailers, not just one, multiple, to steal more than $1.6 million worth of alcohol from a distribution company that carries brands including Jose Cuervo and Malibu Rum. The theft began during the early morning hours. Republic National Distributing Company in Hillsborough County. Look, there they are.
Look at that guy dropping in.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Like it's the Thomas Crown affair. Like it's Mission Impossible. Like. Here's a security camera video.
Wow.
You see him. Wow. They came in between 4:10 a.m. and 9:45 a.m. Mm-hmm. The thieves removed 4,277 cases of liquor from this major distribution company, and they loaded it into all of these tractor trailers.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Mm-hmm. Authorities believe this is the MO that's going to land these dudes in prison. They did not identify the suspects, But they have targeted this distribution area with those tractor trailers, and they are the nation's, or one of the nation's, largest wine and spirits distributors. 14,000 employees work here. So this isn't like knocking over some, warehouse liquor store.
But if you have all those options, you're going for the Cuervo and the Malibu? Really? Really, dude? Come on.
John has
Malibu's
an issue with your priority list.
Malibu's like 40 proof. That's like half strength.
It's
like
sad
Cuervo?
that you couldn't have been in on the planning, John.
Yeah.
Florida man.
They should get more years for the alcohol choices, but they should get it. But they should also get it back for doing the classic From the Roof. From the Roof.
You're right.
I love
that.
That's cool.
That is cool. That's super cool. Yeah, the drop in from the roof is really great. So hang on.
It was great. I loved it.
Florida man breaks into woman's house, sits on her couch, and makes unusual request. No?
Like what? No. What does he want?
Well, let's find out.
I'm intrigued.
While you look at his booking photo, I will tell you that a Florida man is now behind bars. Forcibly kicked his way into a woman's house, according to Marion County Sheriff. Daryl Davidson, arrested and charged with criminal mischief. He's 39 years old. Ladies, he, I think, is single. So there's that. Yeah. He may not be available to go out and like hit a movie or a cocktail for a couple months. The 39-year-old was reportedly yelling and belligerent outside a woman's home. That's when he tried to get inside the woman's home by kicking the front door. And then when he was denied entry, on the second kick, he broke the door frame and the door opened. He then entered the woman's home, sat on her couch. He didn't try to commit any crimes while inside, but he did ask for water and something to smoke.
What? What a weirdo.
Yeah. Well,
where are my weed smokers at?
I don't think weed smokers kick doors open in general, but shortly after Davidson grew, I think other kind of smoking, like meth or whatever. Shortly after that, Davidson grew belligerent again, resumed yelling, and then he left the house.
Why are you yelling?
Yeah, it remains.
Why are you yelling?
Thank you. The man was taken into custody at his home, which is nearby. Deputies said he spontaneously had kicked the woman's door in because he was trying to warn her that she was in danger. That's his story.
From him.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean...
Who is having that conversation?
Well, he's having it, as it turns out, and in an effort to head off, I think, any additional problems. We don't like to do it, to pick a favorite Friday Fabulous Florida story, but the bylaws of the show require us to. And if you're watching either in replay or live in the chat, please indicate in comments or in the poll what your favorite story is. And if you need a reminder, let me just quickly run through them. The Florida man guilty of murdering his wife after she refused to go on a home renovation TV show.
Wait, you have to say the name of the show.
What was it called again?
Zombie
Flip or something? Zombie Flip?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, that's
Kim's
very
right.
Florida, yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's zombie house flipping is what it was called.
He's like, well, I have to try to kill her. Oh, wait, it's not working.
She comes back as a zombie.
We could be real zombies.
The guy who wanted to throw the cops off who were after him by putting a dry erase board out front that says, "I don't live here." A Florida man blames bad dreams for damaging the brother-in-law's car in the middle of the night. The Florida man who goes full speed and launches into that canal and then has to be rescued.
Yeah. What if there are gators in that canal?
Oh, that would have made the story very compelling, even more compelling than it was. The dude who was kidnapped by the two who wanted actually his colleague, and they grabbed him, kidnapped him, and waterboarded him by mistake. Then, realizing their mistake, they had him go to his place of business to try to lure the guy out that they really wanted. Instead, he called in a bomb threat, and they end up in custody.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
my bad. That's the greatest thing. Right.
Inept criminals.
My bad. I'm sorry.
I think we have the wrong guy. Oh, dude, I'm so sorry. We really wanted your colleague. I hope you won't hold this against us. We have one last favor we'd like from you. Thieves in Florida used the tractor trailers to steal more than $1.6 million in alcohol from that distribution center.
That's pretty good video.
Yeah. And the Florida man breaking into the woman's house, sitting on her couch and making requests for water and smokes, and then leaving in a tirade. These are tough, but we must pick a favorite. And so I ask you first, Kim, what do you think?
Well, since there was no wildlife in this week's Florida roundup, I'm going to go with the whiteboard guy. Yeah.
The whiteboard guy. Now, what's on the poll, Albert? Is that one of them, or what is it?
No, and the polls were actually a lot closer, but the bizarre kidnapping has taken the lead here. But only 37%. So there's 20, 23, and 19% for the others. So it's a pretty not one-sided. There's a lot of good options here for home renovation murder, crazy car story, bizarre kidnapping, and man breaks in, makes requests. Those are the options.
Those are your options. The Lebowski reference is quite appropriate. How about you, former fabulous producer John Daly?
John Daly. When you ask what's on the poll, this is Florida, so it would be strippers, Mark.
That's
Strippers are
very
on the
good.
poll.
I get it. It's a poll.
I do like,
poll.
I like dry erase board for originality. I like that, Kim. But I think I have to go for waterboarding cluster F. Because you know what?
I agree.
It's that stick-to-itiveness. You know, they didn't give up.
Undeterred when they had actually kidnapped the wrong person. That's a very good point. Undeterred would be a ding word. Albert, what's the story that you like?
It'd be better for the show for me to pick something different, but that story just when I was reading it, I couldn't like it was getting better and better as you're reading on, and it took you on a wild journey. So it's I like the improvisation that they tried, and I like how it was all documented there for us to see how they
could hear the Benny Hill music.
Yeah, and you could see. I mean, it feels very Coen Brothers, like Fargo-ish in a way. Right, and it also, you can totally see how the movie could go dark, but also with humorous. There's
artistic
absolutely a movie there.
Yeah, definitely.
So I agree. I think the two guys who kidnapped the wrong guy and then try to write it, and I think that is your winner. And in the poll, Albert, again, what do we have?
Yeah, the home renovation murder, crazy car stories, bizarre kidnapping. The bizarre kidnapping is just running away now. We've influenced the vote, but just a shout out to the crazy car story. That was great footage. What a camera! It was.
That really was. That is, those who are listening on the podcast, you should check out the YouTube, and we'll drop this video separately. That's Friday Fabulous Florida for today.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Always a pleasure to see you, fabulous producer John Daly. And I will tell you that producer John Daly
on Who's Talking Now.
What I think it's called What's Going On Live or something like that.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
It's the After Party Live on the After Party Live channel. Yeah. Go hang out, and they do fun stuff that kind of lets you sort of
decompress.
Chillax.
Yeah, exactly. Decompress, right. So, John, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you next week. John Daly, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On Fridays, we like to get these guys into the mix because they have such clean takes on a troubled time in politics and in the world. And let's welcome them now. This guy's forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. You see his stuff across YouTube and other platforms and TYT. He's Michael Shure, everybody. Michael, thank you. Good to see you. He's muted for some reason. We can take away.
I'm muted.
There you go.
There you go.
And
what I was saying was that it's nice to be here.
Oh, okay. Well, that was certainly worth unmuting for.
Yeah.
And this guy, former senior correspondent at ABC News, covered the White House for years as well. And now he writes a column on media and politics. It's never been more relevant. How about it for Jim Avila?
Morning. Morning.
Hello, sir. Hello. Look, this is just happening in this moment, like in the last couple of hours, this Jim Jordan thing. I wonder if you can just, it's crazy. I thought I was saying at the beginning of the show that Biden was really right. Like, this is a real moment at which there's serious tumult in the world, and there's serious issues confronting this country. And, the government may literally shut down in less than a month, and yet the House is in chaos. Speak to what's happening, please, if you would, Jim Avila and Michael, and give us a sense of what we can expect, what could really happen.
Well, I'll give you the visceral reaction. I never enjoy anything more than seeing Jim Jordan humiliated over and over. I mean, it does make me happy. I realize there are bigger issues than that, and I realize it is, as you say, a difficult time for the country. But this is a man who supported the January 6th insurrection, who has wasted our time with meaningless investigations, and who ignored possible sexual molestation at the Ohio University where he worked as a wrestling coach. He doesn't deserve to be in the Congress, much less as head of the Congress, the Speaker of the House. So I'm glad that that's happened. I'm glad that he has been humiliated over and over by his own party. So that's my immediate visceral reaction. I'll let Michael explain what it really means.
He is a glutton for punishment, Michael Shure, over and over. These votes that he knew he didn't have it.
He is. I think that there was hope that his deputies there, and as he was the speaker designate, would have hello to everyone.
Hi, Mom. Yeah.
In Jim's world, that there was the hope from his standpoint that he would be able to corral and to wheel and deal, which is what politicians do, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Is to give some concessions to some of the people that were voting against him. It didn't materialize, and he lost more votes this time than he had before. He's lost more each time. Now the House conference had taken a secret ballot where it has been decided that he is no longer the speaker designate, and that anyone who wants to run for speaker has to let the conference know by Sunday. Already Kevin Hern of Oklahoma, Austin Scott of Georgia, and perhaps others will certainly jump in the race. And then you'll see. I mean, you said that the House is in chaos. It's not really the House. The Democrats have stayed exactly where they've been. The Republicans became chaotic when 8 of them voted Kevin McCarthy essentially out, even though McCarthy's blaming the Democrats for not coming to save him. I don't think that's taken very seriously. And now there's a little chaos because the question is, will they be able to find someone who they can all vote for after this adventure? They're going to have to. And what you said is true, Mark, about Biden. He needs to deal with a Congress in order to get some of the things done that he needs done, as well as keeping the government open to begin with. But it's interesting political theater, and it's an interesting take that Jim Jordan came as close, actually, to me as he did to becoming speaker.
I mean, as Jim
What's
says,
interesting too is
sorry,
that just one more thing on this is that, and for your viewers, is that what they're going to be hearing now, and they've already heard it if they've been watching, is this Republican talking point that's out there that this is the Democrats' fault as much as the Republicans' fault because all the Democrats voted against Kevin McCarthy. That is not true. It's the Republicans who control the majority. No Republicans that I recall voted for Nancy Pelosi when she was in charge and when the Democrats controlled the House. The Republicans are in charge of the House. It's their job to elect a speaker, and the Democrats are just sitting on the side watching it. They had little to do with Kevin McCarthy's removal. It was 8 Republicans who decided to do that from the far right. It's those people who are to blame.
And let me, Mark. Let me just continue on what Jim's saying a little bit here. So there is a petition too. I mean, the Democrats are willing to make a deal to extend some extra powers to the Speaker pro tem, Patrick McHenry. And you heard when McHenry received 6 votes today, and he has to, as the Speaker pro tem, read the results of the vote. He said Patrick McHenry 6 votes because he has to, and then he kind of smirked sheepishly. And there were applause from a lot of the members of the Democratic caucus there because they would like to see him, because they know that conservative though he may be, there's a reasonableness to him that they could work with, and he'd certainly be better than Jim Jordan. But they need to get this government to stay open, and they need to figure out aid for Ukraine and Israel. And I think they realize that. So they're the ones who seem to be the most cooperative anyway, even though they're sticking together. McCarthy has a point. They could have saved him, but they didn't.
Well, McHenry has also said he doesn't want a situation where the temporary speaker has additional powers. He doesn't want to set that precedent.
Yeah, he doesn't. He actually said that we'll find out who was next on Kevin McCarthy's list if that happens, meaning that Kevin McCarthy, as an outgoing speaker, had to give a list of who he would like to be Speaker pro tem. McHenry was first, and McHenry said, well, we'll find out who's second because I don't want to be here for that.
There is I want to get back to Jordan here for a second, and I have actually, it's a two-pronged question, but I'll start. The first prong has to do with what Michael said, which is traditionally there are exchanges of promises and various things to curry favor and put together the coalition that would get you into power as the House Speaker. In this case, Jordan, quite consistent with his brand, was pursuing threats of violence or intimidation, and there was a real organized campaign, it seemed, to harass, frankly, those who were not supporting him. Albert, can you play the voicemail? And this is CNN got this voicemail, but we've been talking about this on this show all week. Please go ahead, Albert.
Live pictures now of where the chaos is unfolding on Capitol Hill, at least in the room where it happened. Republican Congressman Jim Jordan, aspiring Speaker Jim Jordan, meeting.
Don't know if you can boost the level at all, pal. Can you
trying
make
to
it
win
louder?
over some Republican
Yeah,
holdouts?
that's unfortunately the loudest.
Okay.
To be Speaker. This party infighting has taken a dramatic and ugly turn. Several of those lawmakers who opposed Jim Jordan's bid for Speaker are now receiving credible and terrifying death threats. Over the weekend, it was made clear that supporters of Jordan's were going to launch a pressure campaign that apparently had Jordan's blessing until last night. And in the intervening time, well, it got pretty ugly. And we have some exclusive audio right now of a threatening message that was left as a voicemail for the wife of one of the Republican lawmakers who opposes Jordan. This has only been edited to take out identifying information of the wife and the lawmaker. We've bleeped out some of the language, but not all of it. And I want to warn you, this is pretty ugly stuff. Take a listen.
Play it already.
Why is your husband such a pig? Why would he get on TV and make an asshole of himself? Because he's a deep state prick? Because he doesn't represent the people? So what we're going to do is we're going to come follow you all over the place. We're going to be up your ass nonstop. We are now Antifa. We're going to do what the left does because you're of a husband gets on TV. Oh, the bad guys, they did so. I'm going to vote for Kevin McCarthy, a piece of shit who everybody knows. And for his piece of shit ass to talk about Americans who are actually fighting for Americans as the bad people, says everything about him. So you, your husband, and we're not like the left. We aren't violent, but we're going to follow your ass, every appointment you have, everything you fucking do. Your husband's an asshole. You should talk to his stupid ass. We're at war. Israelis being killed, and your dumb husband is acting like a 2-year-old. No wonder. He's a warmonger piece of shit. So listen, you're going to keep getting calls and emails. I'm putting all your information over the internet now. Everybody else is, and you will not be left alone because your husband, Jim Jordan, or more conservative, or you're going to be molested like you can't ever imagine. And again, non-violently.
Yeah.
You won't go to the beauty parlor. Now, you must be a bitch to marry an ugly mother like that.
All right. Again, B.A. Ware says this is what they call the Jim Jordan charm offensive at Ohio State. I mean, it's so off the rails. Go ahead,
Well,
Mark.
Mark, you should be careful not to blame this on Jordan directly. And this is, the fact that he wants to win and he has even denounced this sort of thing. Yes, he's trying to get a campaign of essentially bullying, but I think bullying in the Lyndon Johnson sense of bullying, to get some of these people to switch so that he could be speaker. I don't know if this was Don Bacon's wife, but Don Bacon said that his wife got some ugly phone calls. He's a representative from Nebraska who didn't vote once for Jordan in this series of votes.
But he lost the lease on his office space because he wouldn't support Jordan.
Yeah. I mean, so those are the sorts of things that happen, and those are the sorts of things that are petty. And listen, Don Bacon and Jim Jordan have the same. Jordan's a chairman now, but he's not going to be the speaker. And Don Bacon isn't the reason that Jim Jordan lost. Jim Jordan's the reason that Jim Jordan lost, and maybe Matt Gaetz is the reason that Jim Jordan lost some votes. But this kind of stuff is ugly, but this is also, these are the people who take it upon themselves. These aren't members of Congress making these phone calls, but this is what happens when you have bully tactics.
Jim.
Yeah, they're crazy right-wing MAGAs, and the real problem is the people who are doxing these Congress people. They're putting their private phone numbers out on the internet, and let's point out Sean Hannity. Okay, Sean Hannity violated any kind of journalistic standards, although he certainly isn't a journalist. But what he did is he had his producers call people who were not voting for Jim Jordan and ask them why not, and actually act as people who were bullying them on the phone, not calling and asking, are you voting for Jim Jordan? And then leaving it at that, but following up with threatening type messages from his producers. This is unconscionable and not journalism in any way. But of course, this is the guy who appeared on stage with Donald Trump.
And with Ted Cruz. I went to a Ted Cruz rally in Houston, Texas, when he was running against Beto O'Rourke to keep his Senate seat.
Right.
And the featured speaker that day telling people to vote for Ted Cruz was Sean Hannity.
Yeah, so if he's claiming, he still does claim to be a journalist, which is just incorrect. And he has a studio audience for his show, which is another weird situation. But we can't leave him out of this bullying tactics that were adopted by the right wing, which is interesting, too, in that it didn't work. It didn't work. In fact, it may have backfired. They continued to get worse and worse votes to 22 and then 25 now against Jordan. So that is a good sign.
The bullying was really uncorked, I saw, with the MAGA movement in ways that I'd never seen sort of publicly uncorked. And it was effective, I have to say, back then. It's weird how the years in between have maybe had an impact. I don't know even how to calculate, whether it's been impactful or not. But as Jim says, it really didn't work here. I mean, I think lawmakers were angered by this and pushed back on it. So let's just look ahead to this situation. Then I want to get to Biden in the Middle East quickly. What will happen here? You're saying they're going to have to. You've mentioned a couple of alternatives, Michael. It just feels as though the timeline is not short enough to keep the government open.
No, I mean, they're going to have to come up with a speaker. I suspect they will. I think that whoever comes out, I mean, they've had two controversial people, or three really, when you include Steve Scalise, up for speaker. And, they had McCarthy, his leader in Scalise, and then Jim Jordan, who is a lightning rod for how people feel about him. I think they're going to get a rank and file Republican, someone like Austin Scott, someone like Kevin Hern. Look, I mean, are Democrats going to do backflips over this? No, they're not. I mean, these are all going to be conservative members of the House, but that's what happens when you lose the House. A conservative member of the House is going to be the speaker. But you also want a level of reasonableness that Jim Jordan doesn't seem to have, or at least doesn't portray to a lot of voters. And I think that's why it'll, they'll settle on someone. The Republicans know that they want this episode to end, and they know that they didn't have enough support within their own caucus to get Patrick McHenry more power. And because that would also require working with Democrats, and that is completely anathema to a number of people on the Republican side.
And similarly, the calls from the Democrats or from others to, why not put a Democrat in charge? I mean, Democrat has more votes than, that's not going to happen either, obviously.
No, it's not going to happen. And I think what's important to remember and to learn from these two episodes is that even the Republicans want to put January 6th behind them. They know that it is not a winning issue. That it's one of the major reasons, along with abortion and student loans, that they lost the midterms, and they do not want to be identified with a guy like Jim Jordan as the leader of their party and as a Speaker of the House. That they're going to have to pick somebody who acknowledges that Joe Biden won the election legally, and they're not going to be able to pick someone who is still an election denier. That's not going to work for them. They realize that finally. I kind of think that they're going to figure a way with the Democrats now. We'll see what happens, but I believe they will figure a way with the Democrats to have a temporary speaker so they can get the Ukrainian and the Israeli funds taken care of, and then they'll go into a long battle over who's the speaker. That's just sort of where I see it going. I think it's a little different than what Michael sees it.
Yeah, but it's only slightly different. I mean, how these things play out is very different. I do think that, Austin Scott is a Georgia conservative. He's a bit of a maverick. He voted to certify the election, which I think is going to be, it's a litmus test certainly for Don Bacon, who said that or Ken Buck as well, who said that they wouldn't vote for anyone who voted against certifying the election. So I think you're going to start seeing some of those people who are no votes on Jordan come back on someone like Austin Scott. By the way, Austin Scott ran already against Jim Jordan in the conference and lost to Jim Jordan, which is why Jim Jordan's name made it to the floor and Austin Scott's didn't. But now that Jordan has failed thrice, that maybe you'll see this happen with Austin Scott.
There's about, isn't it true? There's about 10 Republicans, moderate Republicans, who are in Biden districts Biden won.
Oh yeah,
and
no
that's
question.
the problem. That they're not going to vote for a guy who or a woman who says that the election was stolen. They're not going to do that.
But several of them did vote for Jim Jordan. So, I mean, you would think that they wouldn't, but they did. You had Young Kim and Michelle Steele out in California. You had some of the people in Washington State. And so there are definitely people who have gone against that. And nonetheless, even though they're in Biden districts.
Well, he's been dropped. Jordan has as the speaker nominee, and now it'll be, as you say, it'll be one of these scenarios that you've just described. I thought Biden was impressive, actually, both in the Middle East with his speech there, cautioning against the urge to take revenge on this horror that was perpetrated by Hamas, to make the mistake, if you will. I mean, calling out what was happening as a result of 9/11 as the stain on American foreign policy, though my words, not his, but to point to it as a mistake at all. And I thought he was impressive last night in terms of his positioning this as a critical moment. I don't know we have time to run any of the actual remarks, so I'll just ask you of your impressions of both what Biden said and also how it likely landed and what will happen, Jim. There's a lot there, but go ahead.
Well, I think he rises to the occasion. We've seen him rise to the occasion of the State of the Union, and we see him rise to the occasion during this time of crisis. His speech last night was compassionate, was empathetic, and was strong in his support of Israel. All things that this country needed to hear, and that Israel needed to hear, and the world needed to hear. And I think that he did a good job. His speech was well done, well written, and well delivered. What the right is pointing to, of course, because they know that he's getting such good reviews, is they keep playing the little Q&A he had with the reporters on Air Force One, where he does appear thoughtful and tired. But he didn't, make any mistakes in that. They're just
they only play the one part where he is reflecting and thinking. They don't play the actual continuation. He's perfectly cogent as he continues, but the fact is they just edited it strategically. Go ahead.
And remember, that's also informal. I've been on those on Air Force One when that happens and the president comes back, and they're very thoughtful, and many times it's off the record. This one was not, and they speak candidly, and as you say, they're reflective and thinking. They're they're not on their polished sort of political being at that point. They're kind of one-on-one. And so you saw that, and the GOP is grasping onto that because it's the only thing they can do, because his speech was pretty damn good.
Yeah, and also, I mean, take note that someone like Brit Hume on Fox News said it was the best speech that he's ever heard the president give, and that it was effective, and he hit all the right marks. But in reviewing the speech part, like, as Jim was talking about, and as Brit was talking about, Biden has low expectations with speeches too, which does help him. And I think when he gets out and he rises to the occasion, as Jim was saying, a lot of that is due to the fact that people go in a little nervous and a little, it's the opposite of what happened with Barack Obama. You expected these grand sweeping speeches that would be like Kennedy in Berlin, and they weren't. He gave good speeches, but you expected much more, probably because he was so charismatic. And the other part of this, I mean, tactically, what he did do, which was really great, and his speechwriting team deserves credit, was tying Ukraine and Israel together. They're both important to the president. They're both important to his administration. They're both important to this idea that they're trying to, in a very Reagan-esque way, talk about democracy. And he did that very well last night. And I think that's going to, be a big part of what they're pushing the Congress to do. So I think that's a really important thing.
I always spark to the chat when there's somebody who is calling us out, or and I see Eat the Rich. I see what you're saying. We have railed against the American military establishment for hours on this show, but I think what is important here is what is being said about this moment in time, and I don't damn Biden for demanding that there be something done in these two areas that America considers vital interest to the U.S. So when you come at me for, it's just billions spent on war, yeah, I get it. That's not really what this conversation is about. And honestly, it's, the kind of thing that you can scream from the back of the house, but the reality is that's not what's front and center right now. I think you said it well, both of you. Biden felt the need, the urgency to make this case, and tying the two together was a big part of that. And I thought he made the case effectively.
Well, remember, this is very different than. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michael. I'll wait.
No, you can go.
So this is very different, Mark, than Iraq. Okay, Afghanistan, there was a reason to go. Iraq, there was no reason to go, and those of us who've been against Iraq continue to be against it because it was a made-up war. This is more like Afghanistan. This appears to be justifiable. Now, it has to be careful in Israel that we don't overreact and kill people who don't deserve to be killed. But there's a reason for Israel, and there's a reason for Ukraine. They're different than Iraq.
I also think, guys, and I would love, Michael, to hear your thought on this. I'm not sure what Israel is going to do. There are not a lot of good moves here for the reasons that Jim was sort of alluding to. There are just so many innocents who surround these Hamas fighters. They've embedded themselves in these situations that seem impossible to defuse, without hurting so many people. There's a part of me, and not to mention Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, who they could just take this to a whole other level. They have technologies and weapon systems that can hit Tel Aviv, and they could just, as I say, this could really blow up. I'm curious if you think there's a chance the Israelis, I know they've amassed as they have, but I'm wondering if with hostages and with all of these other things that I'm talking about, these variables, if there's something else the Israelis might do that would be more in the restraint area, or if you really see them having no choice, both because of the street, the politics, et cetera, but to go in.
I mean, under different leadership, I've reported there. I've reported from an outlet that's based there. It's all about the leadership. Under different leadership, you might expect some of those things. Look, two hostages were released. 2 American hostages were released today after Qatari interference or stepping in on behalf of the hostages, trying to broker something. That to me tells me that Hamas and the people that align with Hamas think that something's going to happen imminently. It's the Sabbath in Israel right now. I wouldn't think it's going to happen in the next few hours. But I do think that as you start to see these hostages be released, it means that one side thinks that by releasing them, they're going to get the other side to soften. There's no indication that Israel is going to soften here, but time does make that a little less, it's a little better today than it was the day after the massacre on the inside of Israel from Gaza. So I think that's a big part of it. And then just going back to what Eat the Rich said and what you were saying, right? There are two different conversations. So his conversation is a legitimate conversation, but this was about what Biden felt Biden had to do and how well he did that. And I think that the three of us agree that he did a pretty good job of doing that. What he was selling, if he's selling eggs and you're not buying eggs, then it doesn't matter. But if he does a good job of selling eggs, then that's what we're talking about. So
very well put.
Another conversation going to happen.
Yeah,
I think that that as far as what Israel can do, if it's obvious to me that what's happening now is there are some negotiations going on. Qatar is involved in negotiations. The Israelis, at the behest of Biden and the United States, have held back and not started their big invasion. That's because there may be some progress going on. Let's hope that continues. If the hostages remain in Gaza, it seems to me that Israel is going to go in on the ground, has to go in on the ground to try to get in those tunnels and find the hostages. That's what's going to happen. If it's limited to that, I would support it. The problem is, as you say, and I've been to Gaza and reported from there, and I know that it is densely populated like Manhattan. So you can't go in there and just drop bombs everywhere, which is what they're doing, and not kill civilians. So they're going to have to go in surgically, and I hope that they go in surgically to the tunnels and to the places they know where Hamas is, and not just do mass killings. That's going to turn against them. It's going to turn into a wider war all throughout the Middle East. You see already that in Jordan and in Egypt and other places like that there are huge demonstrations and real anger out there among those who favor the Palestinians.
Go ahead, Kim.
So this story is on CNN. The fraud trial judge in New York is saying this social media post of a court regarding a court clerk that Trump made with identifying details was never taken down until just today. So it would have been up for 17 days, I think. And the judge is saying the violation of this gag order that he said, don't talk about my staff, don't talk about people in the court, this could result in imprisonment. He's threatening Trump with jail. I wonder if you think that's realistic, and if Trump does get thrown in jail for violating such a gag order, does then he become a martyr for free speech? How smart would it be to do something like that? And how unfair is it that the rules may be different for him than anyone else?
Well, I don't think they're different. I don't think they're different at all for anybody else. In fact, the only way they're different is that he gets a break. If it was anybody else doing what he's done, they'd already be in jail. I think that the judges are being very cautious for good reason, and that the first violation will likely be he'll be fined in some way, and warned that the next one he'll go to jail. These courts are not really. He's not doing well in the courts. I mean, today we haven't even mentioned the fact that today Cheseboro pleaded guilty.
Yeah.
The second attorney to plead guilty, and he was in the room when they were planning how they were going to do the insurrection. And Trump was there, so he's a witness against Donald Trump. Things are not going well for him.
No, they aren't. And politically, your question, Kim, does it make him a victim or a martyr? Yeah, to a degree, it would. I don't think that many people just want to see him punished with a 2-minute penalty. They want to see him get a game misconduct, and I think that on the political side of things, that's true. I don't think a judge wants to put him in jail for contempt or for violating a gag order. I don't think they want to be in the crosshairs of that either. And even if they're not politically motivated, it's not an easy thing to do to someone who has this much attention. So I think they're going to try, like Jim said, to do some steps before they would get to that. I don't think it's realistic. I don't think it's anything that anybody wants.
And to be honest, Michael, I'm not afraid of his supporters. They're not at the courthouse anymore.
No, they're not. No, I don't mean it that way.
I don't think he's gonna cause another huge rebellion anymore. He doesn't have that support that people now know to go to jail if they do that. I'm sorry.
You're 100% right. I meant in the sense of the national conversation, but you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, it has waned a great degree.
Well, it'll come as no surprise to you that I'll just say that Donald Trump's not going to jail. He's not going to jail for a day. He's not going to jail for an hour. I don't even know at the end of all of this if he'll ever go to jail. I understand the cartoons. He's in an orange outfit. He's in the cuffs, whatever. Those are great caricatures, but it's not going to happen. Look at how the institutions of government protect their own. Sidney Powell got a slap on the wrist. My God. What we'll see, but everything you guys have said is so true. I mean, there's real testimony that'll come out of Cheseboro and Powell, and so there's a lot more to get into the narrative, and it's going to be damning to Donald Trump, but he is not going to jail. And they already are making up the story like Trump wasn't even aware of it. That post was put up by one of his political staffers. That was all out there in the zeitgeist this morning. So
I don't know that he's going to go in. I agree with you. I don't know if he's going to go to jail for contempt, but he's going to go to jail in Georgia for what he did there. Those charges are serious, and she is winning in her strategy, Fanny, and doing a really good job. And she's gotten two very important witnesses who will now testify against him, and that is very important. And Jack Smith is no slouch. I do believe he will end up in prison, not for contempt, but for real crimes against this country.
That's why the people love Jim Avila.
I'll be Mills Lane here, and I'll stand with
Mills Lane, what a reference. The old boxing referee. And I will, here at the end, ding, which we seldom do during a conversation, but the use of the word thrice by Michael Shure gets a ding. Mike, when he's talking about Jim Jordan, thrice the loser in these, you always
said twice you wouldn't have done that.
The thrice really got it for us. Thank you guys. Have a great weekend, and we appreciate you both. Thanks for being here. All right, guys. Love it, love it, love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
All right. I don't know what to do. We had my two boyfriends in, and now we're running late. And I don't know.
They're my favorite.
Oh, man. What time is it? What do we do here? Albert, you're the boss. What do we do? You're the producer.
We're going to go straight to the Culture Blaster.
We're going to go to the Culture Blaster, and Kim will understand.
I will understand.
Kim is what made us late.
Sorry.
She
well,
went
it was
in
an
with
important question.
Yeah, it was an important.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah, I'm just saying that at least I don't after the show have to take
And you
any
see
grief.
what I do here? I managed to sneak some breaking news into the conversation, and now I don't have to do the news. So
I liked it.
There's never been anything like this.
I liked it. I liked it very much. I really did. I will take this one moment to ask you to smash the like button.
Smash it with your iron
If you're
rod.
watching in replay or whenever you're watching, please participate in our chat. We love to get your comments. We read your comments. If you're angry at me, if you're angry at everybody, if you can't understand how come you guys are in the tank for this or that, you can go ahead and leave it. And we do pay attention to it. So
I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
Not everybody. I'm just going to be honest. Not everybody made me better, but I'll take the sentiment. This guy comes in on Fridays. He is a writer for the Marina Times. He is a longtime music critic and movie critic, movies and streaming. His thing, if it's comic books, the Marvel universe, the DC universe, if it's some obscure Korean subtitled film, he's seen it.
Yeah. Yep.
And he will review it. He comes and goes on a rainbow. How about it? For the great Michael Snyder, everyone.
Good morning and a happy weekend to everybody. Mark, Kim, Albert, in honor of In-N-Out Burger's 75th anniversary,
Oh,
I
yeah.
will be doing this week's Culture Blast animal style because, that's kind of on the secret menu, animal style. Oh, my God, you've never eaten an In-N-Out Burgers,
I don't
you
think
vegan?
I have. I haven't. Kim, help me because I'm a vegan, so I don't go into In-N-Out.
Love animal style. Yeah, animal style is very good. I get on the fries. usually.
Animal
Yeah.
style is you get the cheese, you get the secret sauce.
I see.
And the
It's-
grilled
it's a whole-
onions, like it's everything. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my God, it's like
I don't know. Albert, I actually
shouting in a
Kim's
void.
pretending
What kind of
she eats there.
Californians are
Yeah.
you people?
Okay, all right.
Anyway, I am honored to welcome my special guest reviewer today. Let's give it up for Lady Gaga.
Yeah, how about Lady Gaga?
Wait,
doing
what? She's not here?
Wait a minute, though. Did you see? Kim had it in her news that she took
I
the
know.
stage with the Stones. Huh?
She's part and parcel of the Stones' new album, Hackneyed Diamonds. Hackney, by the way.
Yes,
it's a
tell us about
neighborhood.
the derivation of that, please.
It's a neighborhood, working
in England,
class,
right?
yeah, in England. But what's funny is Mick and the boys for the past 20 years, their output has been very hackneyed, and so it's kind of strange.
I get it.
And oddly
Don't
enough,
reward him, Albert. No, don't do it.
the two new songs.
Don't encourage him.
The two
Don't,
new songs
I
I've
asked you.
heard off the album are actually a return to form. It sounds like Mick has rediscovered.
Oh, so you were just making a play on words. You actually like them.
Fountain of Youth. Well, I'm saying of late, it's been pretty much hack work. But, honestly, the new record so far sounds pretty wonderful. Again, ladies and gentlemen, auto-tune. I don't know what makes him sound so young and vibrant.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Now you don't even know if it's his voice on there.
No, I mean, I'm confused. Anyway, since Lady Gaga can't be here, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome our guest reviewer, Jim Jordan. No, Jim Jordan he's decided not to come?
All right.
Okay, never mind.
All right.
Good riddance to bad rubbish, everybody. That's all I can say.
All right.
Speaking,
Are you done with all your topical material now?
my topical chunk, as we like to say. Yes, I am. So I think it's time to talk about movies. And frankly, it's a big deal when somebody like Martin Scorsese puts out a new film.
Yeah. What do you think, Michael?
Well, Scorsese, the venerable elder statesman of cinema who brought us
Venerable is a ding word.
Mean
please,
Streets,
Albert.
Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Taxi Driver, The Wolf of Wall Street, The Departed, those last two, The Departed and Wolf of Wall Street, recent films that were just fantastic by this, older man who's
How
working
dare
in the
you?
business.
How dare you with your ageist attitude? But
So
you are
many
paying him
other-
a compliment. You're saying you would have expected his work to be diminished by
Well,
his age? How
you know,
dare you?
I just want to say, at 3 hours and 20 minutes in length, you might think that Killers of the Flower Moon, his latest, is an example of Scorsese using his status as one of the greatest American movie directors to engage in late career excess. 3 hours and 20 minutes.
That's too long for a movie.
But
wait a minute. Wolf of Wall Street was long too.
it
right?
was. But you fear
The
a
Departed was
ponderous.
long, too,
you
right?
fear a ponderous, tedious result. The Irishman, which
Oh,
was
yeah.
his previous film, was actually quite long as well. This is considerably better. Oh my God, it absolutely is fantastic. Killers of the Flower Moon may be a long ride and a long time to be sitting on your tush in a theater, but so much is packed into it. It's an historical epic, a murder mystery and police procedural, a love story, a multiple family saga, and a tale of culture clash, and yet it never sags or lags. And I mean, Scorsese, who you might recall has railed against Marvel movies and other superhero fare as base and of minimal artistic value. By the way, Marty, you're wrong. He has assembled his own acting Avengers. Longtime Scorsese collaborator Robert De Niro, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jesse Plemons, and John Lithgow are among them.
Wow.
And they power this investigation into the notorious reign of terror that plagued the Osage Nation in Oklahoma during the 1920s. The Osage, a major Native American tribe. So the real-life situation that inspired Killers of the Flower Moon, which, by the way, was a best-selling book before it was adapted into this film, this was a remarkable situation. Members of the Osage tribe discovered oil on their land and became rich. And working-class white men came to work for the Native American oil barons in somewhat of an inversion of our usually, racially charged caste system.
Yeah, usually it's the white people who are running things.
Yeah,
and
so
inversion's a ding word.
Some of the white men wooed and married the daughters of wealthy tribesmen, and then a string of murders began to thin the tribe.
Well, they did that to gain, you're saying, a piece of the action.
Exactly.
That's why they married.
So this is all a historical record. In yet another studied and complex performance that matches or even exceeds his absolutely stunning work in The Revenant, Blood Diamond, and The Wolf of Wall Street, the latter, of course, directed by Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio plays Ernest Burkhart, who is a somewhat dim World War I vet who comes to Oklahoma to make something of himself under the guidance of his savvy uncle, William Hale, who is a well-to-do white rancher, positioned as a friend to the Osage. That's his deal. So Hale is played by De Niro as kind of a hail fellow, well-met type who takes more than a passing interest in the fact that Ernest is now earning a living by chauffeuring pretty Osage heiress Molly. In fact, Molly, played in very graceful and yet wary fashion by Lily Gladstone, is attracted to Ernest, maybe against her better judgment. So as various romantic entanglements get going...
So she's the Native American, he's the white driver.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. And he's kind of, like I said, a dim bulb. You know, he's not the sharpest tool in the old shed.
He's like a Forrest Gump type.
No, he's not that stupid. But oddly enough, the author of the author of the script of Forrest Gump, Eric Roth, co-wrote this with Martin Scorsese. Oh. So when Ernest brings Molly a box of chocolates, no, he doesn't bring her.
But you're saying he's not quite that dim.
Oh no. And he's certainly looking out for himself as best as he can, considering his limited intellectual resources.
So are his motives romance, or is he into making a score?
He's into her.
Right.
But there is the score. And she has sisters and an aging mom. I got to tell you...
nobody likes her.
She's cool.
Various romantic entanglements get going, and so do the titular killers, which inspires the burgeoning FBI to show up, led by a dedicated agent named, of all things, the FBI agent Tom White.
Are you serious?
I'm quite serious.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so Jesse Plemons is, as usual, aces as White. De Niro does his typical great job, very much the gruff De Niro character that we kind of know and love or fear, but it's DiCaprio and Gladstone who keep this thing pumping like oil or blood or both. There's glistening cinematography that takes advantage of the sprawling plain setting, a resonant retro score by the late Robbie Robertson. Beautiful thing to go out on for Robbie Robertson.
Glistening, really? You want it? All right.
And a script that eventually dovetails all the various elements of the story while indicting the exploitation of indigenous people. There is a lot here, and all of it is expertly orchestrated by Scorsese.
Wow, you really like it.
I thought it was really a wonderful film. Killers of the Flower Moon isn't Raging Bull, but it rages powerfully, and that ain't no bull, Mark. Anyway, it's in theaters, and just hit the men's room before you set yourself down.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, I got to say, 3 hours and how much?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. I mean, is there a scene that we can wait? Why don't you give us
Marty? Let me reach out to Scorsese. That's Avengers length, Marty.
What is the one scene during which I could run to the bathroom?
None. I was really riveted by the whole thing.
Wow.
Okay, I want to now kind of switch things up a little bit. I'm going to talk about a movie called The Persian Version, which is very high-spirited, often funny, and culturally inclusive. And it's a tad on the self-indulgent side as it presents a slice of Persian-American life, including the roots and origins of the family, through the lens of its screenwriter-director, Mariam Keshavarz, and her identity, culturally and sexually, is at the heart of the story, at least her character's identity, because, she's got some secrets that she's very loath to reveal to her family, who want to kind of, keep the traditions going that they brought over from the old country.
I see.
It's fun and it's lively. Leela is the name of the character that is the stand-in for Maryam, and she's played by Layla Mohammadi, and she is wonderful and very magnetic, and she's got all kinds of cool friends, and it's fun, and she finds herself involved, despite her predilections, with a drag queen performer, to the point where maybe she's going to have to explain things to her family in 9 months. And what transpires there is kind of warm and amusing, and again, a little bit on the self-indulgent side.
Transpires.
But I love the circumstance, and she's kind of a black sheep, the character of Layla. But, her family loves her, but she is a modern woman in America. And again, her sexual choices are not going to fit the tradition that has been brought over from the old country, if you will. I would say that this is not a great film, but it's a lovely, hour and a half, almost 2 hours. It really gives you an insight into that culture to an extent. And I guess when Dad has a heart attack, despite all the problems that the family has with Layla, she has to come back into the fold, and that causes a little more heartbreak and some humor. So I like the Persian version.
He likes the Persian version, everybody.
It's in theaters. It's not great, but
All right.
you could do worse. Okay, let's talk about something a little more on the action-oriented side, although maybe not enough action for some people. If you've been waiting to see a Nick Cage Western, the wait is over. Now, I may have seen him on a horse before, galloping across the screen, but Butcher's Crossing gives us a Cage character who's hot to trot in the equestrian sense. He's a buffalo hunter in the mid-1800s out in Big Sky country, and he thinks he's found an untapped herd in the mountains that will make him rich, because back then, buffalo pelts were in high demand for, I don't know, house coats, rugs, bedspreads? I just don't know. But they were in high demand and worth a lot. So Cage's character, Miller, and two other men on the hunt are far more interesting than the movie's seeming central figure, Will, who was an ex-Harvard student coming west to find himself or understand the world better through experience. So Will joins Miller, a sociopathic buffalo skinner named Fred, and a grizzled cook and cart driver named Charlie on the hunt for this massive herd, which takes them into beautiful, unscathed territory so Miller can score big.
Unscathed, sociopathic.
Only the elements and greed could conspire to endanger this quest and those who are a part of it. It's very deliberate. And when you're holed up in the mountains because the season's changed and you may not get back home to safety, you kind of feel the oppression of that. But Cage is in his element these days.
Isn't that right?
He's so wonderful to watch. And you're kind of, at first he seems like he's got everything under control, this character of Miller. But you know that Nick Cage is lurking beneath, ready to go bonkers. And I wouldn't say that he goes bonkers in totes here, but he has his moments. The movie was written and was co-written and directed by Gabe Polsky. And again, not a great film, but I was kind of caught up in it. And truth be told, it's in theaters. And I think, like the Persian version, this is going to run well at home. I just think I got that feeling that if you wait, maybe that's the way to watch it.
Just on the topic of buffalo and being on the hunt, as he is, I guess, in Butcher's Crossing, there is a great series right now on PBS, the Ken Burns series on the buffalo in America. And I've been watching, I'm like an episode and a half in, and there's a lot of stuff to watch. You know this, Michael. I'm always astounded by all the stuff you take in. You're amazing. But I
am amazing, Mark. I thank you for that.
You are amazing. But I just want to make the point that the Ken Burns series, the PBS series, is really good. And the one thing I would say, and this is because I'm a tree hugger, but I think you don't have to, and just because I think, trees need hugging. The environment needs a hug. And
I was grinding up against the bush just earlier today.
The one thing that's clear is that in the 1800s, the American West particularly was teeming with wildlife, teeming with buffalo and all the magical wildlife that now is in super scarce supply right as we speak.
The movie has a postscript that points out the massive numbers of buffalo and bison prior to Whitey showing up.
Yeah, no, but you're right. European settlers decimated the buffalo. There's no question about it.
And by the time they were done, in like 20 years or so I think something like there were 300 buffalo left or 3,000. It's like
they almost literally eliminated the species.
And interestingly enough, the tribal denizens of that area of the United States have basically helped bring back and restore the bison herd, and they're now in the thousands again. And I think, the 20, 30,000, I can't remember the numbers. They're listed at the end of the movie. But you make a great point.
It used to be they say that you used to be able to look out over the miles of land and prairie, and it just was all this big brown moving thing for as far as the eye could see. That's how much the landscape has changed because of the European settlers.
Cage's character has a monologue about spotting this herd that no one has seen yet, because they've sort of depleted what they have in the area of this town that has basically existed as part of the buffalo skin trade.
Right.
And, he says it's like a sea of black. And I thought that was
right.
Kind of,
that's it. Exactly.
And there's a moment when you see what he's talking about that's actually a great moment in the film. The movie, lovely to look at.
I want to ding. It's lovely to look at. Is that what you were saying?
Lovely to look. I mean, the movie itself, the
gorgeous.
beautiful terrain out there in Big Sky is so. It's not like the desolation of Oklahoma, which is a major part of Killers of the Flower Moon. It's funny, we work into two things that do have something to do with the Native American population.
I thought I dinged. Denizens already dinged it.
Seriously. Moving on, we'll catch up to one more
Desolation.
movie.
Okay.
One more movie. I want to talk about very much in brief, The Pigeon Tunnel. Now, The Pigeon Tunnel is the title of an autobiographical book that I have not yet by the great espionage author John le Carré.
Wow.
Who, in fact, that's not his real name.
Not his real name, is it?
His real name is... Don't you do one of those Who Wants to Be a Millionaire games here.
No, I'm not. Just tell me his real name.
No classic Mark Thompson time wasters.
No.
Okay. David Cornwall.
All right.
What? And what's amazing is David Cornwall was the son of a con artist who was jailed innumerable times. Le Carré's dad was a criminal, and Le Carré eventually, leaving Oxford, became a spy for the UK prior to becoming an espionage
That's
author.
how he knows all that
Right.
stuff. Huh?
So the Academy Award-winning documentary maker Errol Morris interviewed le Carré before he died in 2020 and has made this film a lot of interview footage, some recreations of things that happened, clips from movies like The Spy Who Came In From the Cold and the miniseries Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, discussions of those films, discussions about the traitor in the British Secret Service, Kim Philby, who actually was a double agent for Moscow. There's a lot going on here. And
Errol Morris is no slouch either, right?
Oh, my God. Errol Morris is the guy that made The Thin Blue Line, The Fog of War, Mr. Death, Gates of Heaven. He is as good a documentary filmmaker as there is. And he does his usual superb job in this basic interview talking head situation with le Carré. And I was caught up in the whole thing. And as a fan of the James Bond books by Ian Fleming, certainly Len Deighton's Harry Palmer spy novels that kind of took the world by storm in the 60s during the spy craze, and le Carré's work, and a big fan of some of the translations into television and film, such as The Little Drummer Girl, which was a great miniseries, and The Night Manager with Tom Hiddleston, which you should seek that out, also based on a le Carré novel. I was totally enamored of this movie. So
I'm glad you're such a fan of le Carré and the movies. Maybe when we get off the air.
Yes.
But if you're effective at this, I will maybe shoot a video. Explain to me what the hell was going on in Tinker Tailor. I have no idea.
Oh, my God.
It was the most confusing movie I've ever seen.
I've got to give you a concordance or the world's longest footnote.
It was.
Why are you yelling?
It was truly confounding.
Anyway, Morris, using The Pigeon Tunnel, which has an interesting history as a title, but using the book as a sort of map, he basically talks to le Carré. This is in theaters and streaming on Apple TV. So sit on down and watch The Pigeon Tunnel.
Well, now you don't have Jon Stewart's show anymore to look at. You can maybe use that time to stream The Pigeon Tunnel.
I don't even know what to say about that. What am I watching on television lately besides catching up to various shows?
I know what you're not watching.
What's that?
The new Press Your Luck. which just came back. I'm guessing you're not watching.
Wait. Are you the host and monitor? Of
No, I just picked a show that I knew you would likely not be watching.
But Mark,
Game
how
show,
about
I
my new show, Depress Your Luck, which is really, I've been kind of bummed out lately, but
it's been a tough time.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But I've been watching the new season of Loki, obviously Lupin, we talked about them last week, and they have great entertainment value, both of them. And, there's more coming as the year comes to an end. We're going to see a few more shows drop that I'm excited about, and we'll talk about them when we have the chance.
I'm excited about these that you've mentioned today, Michael Snyder.
Good.
There's not any reason except maybe the length to wait on Killers of the Flower Moon.
Why are you yelling?
It's fantastic. That is a quote from the Culture Blast.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like that.
No,
Come
but
on.
that is the word you used. It's in theaters, the Scorsese film. I love, and I saw a little hate for Leo DiCaprio. I love Leo DiCaprio.
Oh, he's the bomb.
I take all your hate, I integrate it into my soul and spit it back out as love. How is that? I love Leo DiCaprio.
He's no longer little Leo, but
Why are you
interesting that it's a team up for the first time, I believe, of the two stars of A Boy's Life, Leo DiCaprio and De Niro.
That's why you're the Culture Blaster.
Years and years ago, they did a movie, and now they're back together again. And in both cases, they've worked with Mr. Scorsese
Can't
before.
wait to see it. Killers of the Flower Moon. It's fantastic. The Persian version in theaters, Michael says it's kind of a fun little diversion.
Yeah, a
Not
diversion.
wouldn't knock anybody over to get a ticket, but by the same token, it's worth your while.
It'll translate well to video, and yes, the Persian diversion, absolutely.
Persian diversion, I love that. Butcher's Crossing is the Nicolas Cage film, and again, Michael says Nick Cage at this part of his life and career really hits the ball, and he does it again in Butcher's Crossing, the tale about being out in the American West in search of those, what are they, bison skins?
The bison skins, yeah. It's not groundbreaking, but I was caught up in it, and, I thought it was worthwhile, and it was sure lovely to look at.
All right.
It's fantastic.
No, it's not fantastic.
I did not say that.
Fantastic was Killers of the Flower Moon. Right. That's not fantastic, but it was. He really thought it was good. It was solid.
It was great. I loved it.
No, not great.
Not
he
great.
just said it's just his point was it's just it's good. It's
good.
very good. The Pigeon Tunnel is the Le Carré look back that's done by Errol Morris, the great documentarian, and Michael liked that too. It's streaming on Apple TV as well as being in theaters. And then Michael promises a passel more of television offerings and other stuff next week. Any notes on the Niners on our way out?
Well, I was disconsolate. Hit the ding.
Yeah, ding on disconsolate.
Yes, I'm very unhappy with everything I heard today on your
come on.
show.
That's not the ding we wanted, but no. I
that
think,
was the ding back,
Yes.
was it not? Anyway, so I was disconsolate at the loss, and clearly Brock Purdy, although having his worst game as a pro, brought them within field goal range of winning the game with a final quarter, last-minute drive, and they faltered. And
bad officiating hurt them as well, but I also then, of course, you got to hit that field goal. And we had a big thing here on the show. Kim said, I felt bad for the guy. His whole family was there. And,
Oh, my God.
And I said, that's all the more reason to hit the field goal because your family is there.
Mom and Dad can't even talk to you now, Jake. No, Jake Moody will bounce back. I hope.
Yeah.
Why are you
And
yelling?
we have a Monday night game against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that the Niners get back on track. I
All
think
right.
they will.
Michael, we love you. The Culture Blaster, available in social media forums everywhere. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael.
So long, everybody.
Yeah. Wow. Michael Snyder really brought the heat today, I thought. I was impressed.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, what are we going to do, Albert? What are we going to do? I know what Kim's going to do. She's going over to do a rogue show, her own channel. She said, I'm too big to just do 2 shows. I need a 3rd show.
This is a full-time job, my friend. This is what we do.
She does the after party live.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
With her Confederate, John Daly. I love it. I enjoy it. I watch it most every day. Jim Slayton, I just want to catch you still pumped up on my Coachella Valley El Gato coffee. That is one of my favorite beans there at Coachella Valley.
Big shout out.
Big shout out, Jim, and I love the El Gato myself. I'm just trying this new one, the El Salvador, which is it's not the dark roast that I usually go for. It's a medium. And look at it. It's got bourbon honey notes.
That sounds good.
Bourbon honey was my pseudonym in college. Debbie, Sandra. What up, Sandra? Thank you so much, Sandra.
Thank you so much.
For the 10 spot, and a big shout out, Sandra.
Big
It's
shout
so
out.
lovely. We're crowd-funded, so we like to shout out the crowd that funds us. Pinky for $1 a day.
Big shout
Thank you,
out.
Pink.
Big shout out.
Yeah. And Luis, on behalf of much of the MT chat community, thank you, Kim, for administering your rod of banishment and obscurity. Oh, Kim.
Kim, how are you?
Kim hit the chit on somebody.
Yeah, that eat the rich guy had to go.
No, was he getting out of hand? I only saw a couple of his.
At first I thought it was just a varying opinion, but then when I looked back, it was him disparaging the people in the chat and calling them stupid or uneducated or whatever. And I'm like, you got to go. If you want to come and say, I disagree with you, whatever, that's great. But when you start going after people, then sayonara, sucker.
Oh. So he got the sayonara treatment. It's a sad fact, but it's
Good day, sir.
Exactly.
Banned
See
for
you later.
life.
Sayonara, sucker.
All right.
Can you let him finish, sir?
No, I think he is finished now, apparently. I was at a Beach Boys concert when Elton John dropped in. They're talking about the Stones and Lady Gaga dropping in. Wow.
That's cool.
Boys seem totally surprised. Wow. Champagne Wishes goes against that's what I saw earlier. 3 hours of DiCaprio, 3 hours too much. How dare you, Champagne Wishes? That's almost un-American. One of our great actors. Jesse Plemons, is in that. Yeah, it's in the Scorsese. He is my new fave actor. Yeah, Julie says he really is great, Jesse Plemons. Who's he married to again? He's married to a star.
I don't know.
Kirsten Dunst, that's who. And love me some Nick Cage. He's fearless, says Pinky. Yeah, right on. Thank you, guys, everyone who has been part of the show today. I think we've learned a lot about each other today. We've learned that no matter how much fun you're having, no matter how much information is packed in between the fun, there's always somebody who needs to get the heave-ho. And when it comes time to give somebody the heave-ho, there's only one person who can do it.
Kim, how are you?
Yes. Kim loves it. She likes to hunt down her chat prey and then slowly hover, watch, and wait. And when the time comes, it's the end.
Good day, sir.
Exactly. So,
what's a guilty pleasure you have?
Yeah, she's got it. The guilty pleasure. After Party Live next.
We'll do it live.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Everybody have a great weekend. A lot going on in the world.
Bye-bye.
We'll be back here Monday for it. Until then, bye-bye.